Welcome back to Movies TV Man on Wednesday's edition of the DCU Daily. These movies could be the last great DC movies we ever see in our lifetime. These were back-to-back DC movies at one point. Amazing, right? What was this? 21, 22? What was this? 21? Something like that, can't remember now. What was this? Yeah, 2019. 19, 20, 21. Back-to-back DC movies, right? Made by all tours. And all three of them are great because you can be a fan of Todd Phillips, Zack Snyder and Matt Reeves at the same time without being an arsehole about the movie that you actually love. But we're not here to talk about the discourse about directors and their fandoms and all of that. Yesterday, I promised you that yesterday was going to be my final word on Christopher McQuarrie's statement on his Man of Steel 2. But I can't leave it at that. I can't. Hollywood is dead. Not dying, it's dead. They're begging us to go to the cinema. They're blaming theatres and theatre companies for people not going to cinema anymore. But that's not true. You did this to yourselves. Netflix created the streaming model. It worked for them, so every studio followed them. And now entertainment is geo-locked, and basically we're priced out of entertainment from the streaming model. You know the model they said it was the future. You're either in a part of the world which makes you geo-locked. Apple TV are spending more money than they're actually making. Their shit's great, but it should be in movie theatres! Right? Thick. Stupid. Harry Potter series. Geo-locked on HBO Max. Stupid! So you're either outpriced or geo-locked out of entertainment. 3 channels when I was growing up. We got all our entertainment from abroad, America and Australia, eventually, right? But today we can't see stuff. What I'm trying to tell you is that the people running and making entertainment don't actually care about entertainment. I don't know what they care about, but they don't care about the art form they're working on or executing decisions on. And there's never been a greater example than Christopher McQuarrie's idea to write and direct a Superman movie. Help with Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill was involved with that story. And it would have been amazing. You know, and he didn't even tell us everything. He told us a little tidbit. And of course I'm angry. I said yesterday, if you love DC and you love Superman and you're part of this universe and you've been either reading comics or watching the movies and TV shows all your life, you're going to be angry about this. Now, some fans are saying that Warner Brothers gave McQuarrie's idea to James Gunn for his Superman movie because we know when he was first asked to write a Superman movie, he didn't have any ideas. And apparently he rang up Peter Safran and said, he's found a way in. Was that way in Christopher McQuarrie's story? Well, we'll soon find out. If in the opening 5 minutes, Superman is falling from the sky and there's no dialogue and then he lands in the snow, we know they've nicked Christopher McQuarrie's idea. And guess what? Just like in Christopher McQuarrie's Superman, there was going to be a Green Lantern, guess what? There's a Green Lantern in this Superman movie. It may not be Hal Jordan. It may be Guy Gardner. But it's still a Green Lantern. Having Guy Gardner instead of Hal Jordan hides the fact that you've stolen McQuarrie's idea. Now, I'm not saying that's the case, although James Gunn does have a reputation within the town of stealing people's ideas. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. He was accused by one person of stealing their idea for Guardians of the Galaxy, and this woman didn't even get credit. I don't know how true that is. There's that thing we heard years ago about James Cameron saying the Terminator concept came from a fever dream. Somebody else said, oh no, it wasn't, mate. You stole my fucking idea. The truth is, they all steal each other's fucking ideas. They don't have a fucking original bone in their body. The modern day industry is pathetic. Take away their CGI and their IMAX cameras, and they're fucking nothing. They're pathetic, right? That's how I feel about them. I hate them. As I told you, beginning of the year, I unsubscribed from the streaming services. I watch old stuff now. I will be going to watch Superman as I keep on telling you, because I'm a Superman fan and I want it to be good. I don't know if it is going to be good. Look, I've always said to you, I have low-key expectations for this Superman movie. I low-key expect to enjoy it. If I high-key enjoy it, that's going to be amazing. That's going to make me very happy and very excited. But I have to wait and see. But the fact that McQuaurie made these statements is very interesting to me. Because do you really believe that Josh Horowitz woke up one morning and goes, I'm going to speak to Christopher McQuaurie, the writer-director, Tom Cruise's most trusted lieutenant, and I'm randomly going to ask him about the Superman movie that never was? I mean, journalists would do that. But I think there's something quite purposeful about this whole situation. So either McQuaurie knows that they've stolen his idea, and he wanted people to know a portion of the idea that they've mainly stolen, so we can see it when we go and see this Superman movie, or he's still, as I said yesterday, he's still seriously contemplating making this movie with Henry Cavill. It's interesting what happens. Will this movie be a success? If it's not, Christopher McQuaurie could find a way in with Henry Cavill. And I don't know what that movie was going to be. But yeah, people like McQuaurie don't just say things. Normally Christopher McQuaurie, but someone like Christopher McQuaurie doesn't talk politics. He doesn't go off topic. We remember that question and answer session a few weeks ago when they were asking Tom Cruise about Trump's new fees for Hollywood, filming outside of America, and he goes, we'd rather just talk about our movie. So it's not like they typically spill the tea like the others do. So very, very interesting. We know that Cruise would have definitely been his Hal Jordan. As I said yesterday, how fucking thick are this studio? Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill together in a Man of Steel sequel that in the first 5 minutes fixes the problems of Man of Steel. Now, I love Man of Steel. Don't start shouting. Don't switch off. I love Man of Steel, but it's not without its problems. And McQuarrie's movie was going to deal with those problems head on in the first 5 minutes of the movie. How amazing would this have been? McQuarrie was going to leave the industry until Tom Cruise convinced him to stay, because Cruise was looking for a trusted lieutenant, and he found it in McQuarrie, who's a really, really good director. A lot of people are saying his latest Mission Impossible is crap. That's the internet, I'm afraid. You know, you don't listen to them. Listen to yourself. At the end of the day, they should never have made 8 Mission Impossible movies. They probably should have stopped at the first one, but they keep on, sucking the flavour out of the chewing gum, don't they? And once there's no flavour in your chewing gum, it's no fun chewing it anymore. Do you get what I mean? But that's Hollywood for you. So I think there's a lot to say about this Christopher McQuarrie Man of Steel 2 situation. Now, I don't agree a lot with Jeremy Prime from Geeks and Gamers, but he made a very great point in his video about this situation. This announcement could sink James Gunn's Superman. Because people are thinking, wow, we could have got this. We could have had Tom Cruise in a fucking Superman movie. And who are we getting in this one? All lovely people, all great actors. But there's not a movie star amongst them. And I mean, for the first time in the first launch Superman movie, we're not getting an all-star cast. Think about Superman 78. Think about Man of Steel. I mean, even Superman Returns had Frank Langella and Kevin Spacey in it. Wow, that's not bad, is it? We nearly had Hugh Laurie as Perry White, and if he didn't have a busy schedule because of House that Singer was also producing, we would have had Hugh Laurie as Perry White, which I think actually would have made a much better Perry White than Frank Langella, even though I think Frank Langella is a legendary, iconic actor. But this film doesn't have that. I mean, Bradley Cooper's all right, but we wouldn't call him, he's not Marlon Brando, is he? He's not Russell Crowe. He's not Amy Adams, There's levels, and, Bradley's done very well with his career, but at the end of the day, I don't really, he's not that, right? He's a mate of James Gunn's, so that's why James Gunn's using him. He'll do a perfectly fine job as Jor-El. I'm not saying to you just because, Christopher McQuarrie has come up with all of this, that this means this Superman movie is going to be crap, because I don't want to be an asshole about it. I don't want to prejudge something before I've seen it. But I must admit, ever since Christopher McQuarrie opened his mouth about Man of Steel 2, my excitement level for this Superman movie has gone down a touch. And then there's the elephant in the room, the runtime. The runtime, there's been a lot of rumours about a reduced runtime for a very long time. Yesterday, apparently, the runtime was announced. Not officially, but apparently it's only 2 hours and 2 minutes. Where have we seen this before? With Justice League, which is 1 hour and 59 minutes, because they thought the more viewings they could get, the more money they would make. Well, you can only get lots of viewings if people want to fucking rewatch your movie, and if your movie is a recycled piece of horseshit, then people ain't gonna want to watch it. I don't know what Superman is. I'm talking about Justice League, by the way, just in case people misunderstood my statement now. So a shorter movie doesn't mean more money, because people have to like your movie enough to keep on going back so you can have more viewings. That's what modern day Hollywood don't understand. But I think in Asia or India, the runtime is still 2 hours and 22 minutes. It has to be 2 hours, 22 minutes. Now, James Gunn many months ago told us that his movie would be around 2 hours and 20 minutes. And that's the length I want. Why is length important? It is important. Because if you say your movie is going to be a certain length and all of a sudden you've taken 20, 22 minutes off of it, Houston, we have a problem. And when I heard the potential of this movie only being 2 hours and 2 minutes, I had that sinking feeling. I do have a bad feeling when it comes to this movie. As I say, I do think I'll low-key enjoy it. But this movie has to make top dollar. And I think there's a section of people within the industry and in fandoms that want this movie to fail and are generating certain tactics to make this movie fail. They could be victorious. They may fail. It's a very, very interesting situation, isn't it? I know there's a concerted campaign against James Gunn's Superman movie. Nobody can deny it. Whether it's right or wrong, well, what happened to Snyder was wrong as well. But I do think it's interesting that maybe the Batman and Zack Snyder's Justice League and Joker 2019 may be the last great DC movies ever made. By God, they could be the last great CBMs ever made. Because they're the three of the best comic book movies ever made. Because people were allowed to have their vision. Well, Zack wasn't really allowed. He rebelled and got his own way and used his tactics. Well done, Zack Snyder. At the end of the day, when you're against an illicit, immoral industry like this, you have to do whatever it takes to get your film to see the light of day. So the Christopher McQuarrie situation is very interesting, frustrating, heartbreaking, because we could have got an epic Superman movie. But they said no. And then you have to ask the question, why did Emmerich, why did Johns or whoever say no to a movie with such potential? Well, Justice League had just flopped. They blamed Superman for Justice League flopping. That's right, they blamed Superman, yes. Blame Superman. They blamed Superman for Superman Returns. It's not that Superman Returns, the director of Superman Returns got it wrong. They blamed Superman for Man of Steel not making $1 billion, of course. It was nothing to do with the creative process. And actually, the killing of Zod and some of the things that divided audiences, don't do with that. Don't blame the creatives, blame the character, yeah? So they decided to take it out on Henry and the character and say no to this idea. because they're fucking dumb. And they shouldn't have the they shouldn't have the honor of making entertainment for the audience, because they don't have the love for it and they don't have the talent for it. That's why they shouldn't be there. They're the reason this industry is dying. As I said, if you create a bunch of streaming platforms that are geo-locked and outprice your audience, you're fucking stupid. And to die on that hill makes you even fucking stupider. If Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill say, look, how about a Superman, Green Lantern, fucking Man of Steel sequel? You say yes! If he asks you if you're a god, you say yes! There was no reason to say no to this movie. It would have been fucking amazing. No reason. No reason whatsoever. You know, Superman is an epic character. Superman should be epic. There's this debate out there. It's interesting because McQuarrie said that when you're making a new Superman movie, you shouldn't be held prisoner to the Donner movie, to the theme by John Williams, or, you know, getting cats out of trees. But, he said, we've got to understand that it is the best movie on Superman ever made. It respected the source. It respected the heart and soul of the movie. Donner got it right. Now, it's interesting. A YouTuber called The Real Shift that I really like read this quote out, but he didn't read the bit about respecting the Superman movie because he's a Snyder fan, right? That's what Snyder fans do. No disrespect to him, still love him, but I turned off the video once he did that because that was wrong. But what McQuarrie's saying is right. We don't have to be held prisoner to Dick Donner's movie, to John Williams' theme. We shouldn't have to. But what's very, very important is that you understand who Superman is and who Superman isn't. What's happened now with this Superman movie, for example, I don't believe you can sell a Superman movie on James Gunn's Superman costume. I think it's a ridiculously looking costume. Yes, the picture we got last week was a better version of the costume, but we're not going to see that costume, I don't think, to the end of the movie. So my point stands, you can't sell this movie on the Kingdom Come Superman S. I mean, there's a bit in one of the TV spots or trailers when they zoom in on the S shield, and it's such a horrible shot. Now, I saw Bryan Singer focus on the S shield, and it was done with such panache. But the way Gunn's done it, I'm sure you've seen the shot when it goes up onto the S. It's a horrible shot. Because the truth is, Gunn's not really a great cinematic director. I think look, his Guardians movies are great. The cinematography in The Suicide Squad is great, but that shot's terrible. And he does get things wrong because he's not really your classic, you know, cinematic director. You know, that's why I would prefer someone like Snyder to be making CBMs, because he's got a beautiful eye. Some people say he's got two. But yeah. And so, yeah, there's this whole debate. And what you get from the Gunn movie, what you're going to get is bright colours, popping bright colours. You're going to get some gags, some serious stuff. You're going to get a bit of everything. So you're going to have a mixture of tones. I don't know what this movie is going to be. I said before, I think it's going to be, you know, Superman's greatest hits. And McQuarrie's first 5 minutes of silence and saying Superman's fears and why he does what he does. If we see that in the opening 5 minutes of James Gunn's Superman, then we know there's a fucking problem, that they've ripped the man's idea. And once that controversy comes out, because the movie will either reject that theory or give it to us, and if they have stolen the man's idea, who's going to go back and have repeat views of this movie and support this movie? So it's a fascinating situation. We'll wait to see what fucking happens here. But make no mistake, everyone, Hollywood is over. The proud Hollywood that made great movies, that made a lot of money, where we looked up to the people who made movies and portrayed the characters in movies, those days are gone. And I don't think we're ever going to get it back. That model is fucking gone. But it didn't go because of TikTok. It didn't go because of streaming. It went because of them. It went because they fucking devalued something fucking beautiful. and they took it away from the next generation. You didn't take it away from me. You didn't kill my childhood. I've still got the videos, the DVDs, the Blu-rays, the fucking 4Ks. I can re-watch anything I fucking want. According to Russell T Davies in the latest Doctor Who, nostalgia is wrong because the world had weird kind of things happening in the past. Well, is the modern world any more better? So I'll be nostalgic, Russell, and there's not a fucking thing you can do about it. You know, you're a creative god to me, but you don't get to dictate what's right and fucking wrong. So I have felt really depressed since hearing this Christopher McQuarrie stuff, because I know it would have been fucking brilliant. And that YouTuber, what is it? My Movie News, that one, who used to pretend to be a Snyder fan, whoever he is, right? He said the Christopher McQuarrie Superman was Black Adam all over again. I'll finish off by saying this. No, my friend, the Black Adam Superman situation was a fucking lie. But Henry Cavill, Tom Cruise, and Christopher McQuarrie wanted to make an epic, awesome, fucking Superman movie. And that's the difference.